Is it not clear that the only reason Apple's a big brand in technology is because the beatings the creator has received before being recognized by millions of individuals? Millions of individuals own an Apple product, but a few know the history of it. But a few know the history of it. From three men using Apple to 588 million, starting in a garage in Los Santos, California in 1976, to 516 stores being built across the world for a brand that many own and carry in their pockets at this very moment. Whenever I look at my phone, I always see it as a technology that has many capabilities to do many things, but I would actually never put thought into the creator or why Apple's better than Samsung, but not really. My first phone was an iPhone 6, and I was in awe because I've heard many good things about Apple. To truly discover the history of Apple, of where it began, how it experienced failure, and how it had its revival. For this reason, we will first be discussing where it all began, next see the time sequence of its failure, and third see how it experienced revival. To start, every invention had a beginning, and Apple started with trouble. It started with a man named Steve Jobs who caused a lot of trouble in school, but he caused a lot of trouble in school, but until fourth grade, he met a teacher who kindled a passion for learning in him. He moved to Los Santos, California in 1967 after being bullied, and he got offered a job by William Hewlett, the ex-president of the Hewlett-Packard plant, after asking him for some pieces to finish off a project that he had due in junior high. By the mid-70s, he met some friends who were involved in electricity, engineering, art, and literature. Those two friends that Steve Jobs met, he didn't know that soon will make an impactful life to many, including me. According to Fazmia Fizzle, the author of an article, The History of Apple, stated that Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak, and Ronald Wayne are the three founders of Apple. Their main idea was selling their first hand-built personal computer as Apple I. The name came from Wozniak's idea after Steve Jobs returned from a trip from an all-one farm commune in Oregon. At the same time as they were experiencing success, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak also experienced failure. As Apple One was on sale for $666 in 1976, they were also in need of an investment. Ronald Wayne left Apple completely to avoid financial risk. He was afraid and he feared that his company will not reach the requirements to be financially stable, to be financially successful. John Scully, on the other hand, met a businessman and an investor named Mike Mulcahy. Mike Mulcahy helped co-sign a loan for $250,000, and Apple became stable again. After the success of the product of Apple One and a couple of investments, they decided to launch an Apple II product. In 1983, the IBM PC company surpassed Apple II as the best-selling computer. Steve Jobs was under a lot of stress at beating out the IBM PC computer. Steve Jobs met John Scully, the CEO of Pepsi, and told him to come and join him in making Apple great. John Scully agreed and worked for Steve Jobs after he made a famous line quoting, "Would you rather sell sugar water for the rest of your life, or would you rather come with me, join us, and change this world?" According to Shitsia Srivastava, who published a blog called John Scully, the man who threw Steve out of Apple and made the right decision. John Scully started to grow envy for Steve Jobs and debated him in a broad room challenge. Eventually, Steve Jobs lost the debate and left Apple. However, Steve Jobs still managed to kindle a fire in his company. Even though John Scully backstabbed him, he still managed to be successful. He still managed to be successful. He mentioned in a conference that he hired the wrong people, and he eventually returned to Apple, and he stated that his Apple products suck, that there's no sex in them, as he stated in front of his employees. A couple years later, he eventually introduced the product iMac. iMac was different from the other computers. iMac got the user's attention with the vibrant colors it offered, and Apple soon began to come up with ideas that was appealing to the world of technology. The revival of Apple caused many companies to look weak, as Steve Jobs went from levels of success, as he stated in an interview. Sometimes when you innovate, you make mistakes, and it is best to admit them quickly and move on from the failures. Mentioned in the book titled Insanely Simple: The Obsession of Apple's Success. Apple was also the first brand to make a multi-touch display with one button, nowadays called iPhone. The revival of Apple made a huge impact in many lives, and it still has not died for over 2 decades. All in all, Apple is an organization that many think is started with perfection, but truly, Apple does have scars. Therefore, Apple is gloriously viewed, and many stand in awe for it. But Apple is just like any other invention. It had a beginning, it experienced its failures, and it had a revival. Like Steve Jobs mentioned, we are placed here on Earth to make a dent in the universe. Otherwise, why else are we here? Steve Jobs has surely put a dent in the universe, and many hold it in their pockets at this time.